Let's look at the possible invitation of the time. We are in Tu Bishvat, which is to do with the rod of influence, or the rod of measurement, which is the meaning of Shvat. It's the rod of judgment, or of decision. Whether or not we'll be able to use all the powers that were given to us in such a way that it will bear fruits. And as well, it is to do with a portion of Torah which is Beshalach, which is the birth of a nation, or the birth of that part, that group of spirits, which was hasten, which was born premature. And as any premature newborn, it needs a specific treatment. So it seems that any redemption has in it, it's a sense of failure, a sense of what was near accomplishment, but yet was not accomplished, because we are on a set or on a road of completion, of a process of perfecting consciousness, of perfecting new senses. So this is the meeting point of our gathering today, is the ability to actually give birth or fruits, which is to do with whether we as a tree, meaning as a membrane, of connective membrane between a higher and lower, between divinity and corporality, can actually spread the connection to all beings, to let them know through the language of the trees of what is needed. So bearing fruit is to do with the ability to bestow. So it's a question whether we wish to be those who plant, or those who always calculate whether they're going to plant or not in accordance to what they're going to gain from it. So this is the test of the time. Okay. So with this, I read it in Hebrew. So it's as well the way to be with it is allowing oneself, as one can say, as a joint wood, as a joint field. To sense through that the call of the time. To what actually we're being invited. To allow its presence prior to our interpretation and understanding. So we will allow a different sensibility to be, to form itself. דע, כי טרם שנאצלו הנאצלים ונבראו הנבראים, היה אור עליון פשוט, ממלא כל המציאות. לא היה שום מקום פנוי, בבחינת אוויר ריקני וחלל, אלא היה הכל, ממלא עם אור אינסוף פשוט ההוא, ולא היה לו לא בחינת ראש ולא בחינת סוף, אלא הכל היה אור אחד, פשוט, שווה בהשוואה אחת, והוא הנקרא אור אינסוף. Behold, that before the emanation were emanated, and the creature created, the supreme expanding simple light had filled all there is, and there was no vacant space in respect to the light being vacant from atmosphere and place, but all was filled with the infinite expanding light. There had been no head and no end, but all was one expanding light, completely even, called Or Ein Sof, infinite light. And then, when his expanding will rose to create the world and emanate the emanation, to bring to light the oneness of his deeds, his names, his appellations, which was the cause of creation of the world. So now we need to start actually in understanding the behold, or to know. Yeah. So the first notion that Baal Sulam is actually asking us to consider is the difficulty of actually dealing or expressing that beginning, or to speak about spiritual matters which have no before there has been any time or space or motion. So we need to know that what kind of language can we use when we speak about godliness or divinity. So the Kabbalists found specifically in the relationship between Aramaic and Hebrew a ready-made language which is called the language of branches. Meaning, knowing that each word in Hebrew, as you know, Hebrew is a root language. So every branch, meaning any type or form of a reality that we finding ourselves using in the language, has a higher root, meaning source, which is called shoresh. So actually when we're saying behold, this is the way actually our 16th century understanding of the Zohar, which is understanding of Torah, which is understanding Torah as an action of light, as the story of the action of light. Therefore, it is difficult to speak about before or after, but we need to understand what it means, the root of things. The root of things, or the root of each word, okay, suggests that any phenomena, anything in itself, as we perceive it, is never in itself, has a root, meaning is being held from above with a precise meaning, and and it's more than a meaning, it's the life of it, the source of life, of anything, of all forms of life, still life, fauna, flora, fauna, humans and Adam. All names of things are rooted. Meaning of rooted is that everything that we see that there is, actually its root is in Ein, meaning it's very difficult to translate Ein because it's not exactly nothingness. It's, one can say, the root, or keter, or the thought of the creator of it, the meaning that was attributed to this existence, or to that which is from the beginning. So root actually speaks about inclusion, the inclusion of everything in the first thought of the creator. What is the thought of the creator? Is to bestow goodness to his createe. So even the most based and word that we can utter, things that looks to us low, and we even will be, when we speak, we will be reluctant to use this word, has a purpose and a meaning. Nothing was created without it being included in the thought of the creator. So when we speak the language, and when we speak the Hebrew, as not as a language of communication of mundane word or corporate word, which we do, which will take its revenge on us in time, which it's already doing. It will turn us upside down. It will turn us back to the root of things. But it suggests that it's a language of impregnation. It's a language of passage. This is the language of branches. It has in it another understanding, that everything that there is has a purpose, but we need to search for the root, or to raise its usage and meaning back to the source of its arising. So therefore, the Kabbalist has found a ready-made language, actually, to describe anything in the spiritual world, at least putting to us the condition that we will not materialize it, meaning that we will not draw it down to our understanding of a language as something that is pointing to the level of our perception, but as something that we need to rise to rise above our perception in order to approach or to come near the true meaning of it. So it's actually a deconstruction or deconstruction of the language. It's deconstruction, I mean it deconstructing the language in order to actually rebuild it with a more precise meaning. So the distance actually of ourself is expressed very accurately in our understanding and usage of the language. It's an actual measurement of our distance from the ability to feel and to perceive the act of creation or the creator. So we spoke briefly when we met in the gathering in New York about the 4 aspects of light. 4 aspects of life actually is a description of all that is in itself perfect in its potentiality. It's before time, meaning it's before creation itself. Is all the powers and one can say all the attributes, all the details, all beings, all expressions before they came out to light. So what was described as first was the light that filled all there is, or filled all reality. The first thing that we ask ourselves, which reality? I mean, before there was a reality, there was a thought about a reality, which is the thought of creation. So it means that everything that will come out of it has to do or is connected or is included in the thought of creation. Above the thought of creation, we cannot know. We only are able to know that which is included in the thought of creation, because the thought of creation is to bestow goodness to its createe. We are included there, and because we are included there, we can perceive it, we can attain its, one can say its feeling, its will. We can become in simile to its will, because this is the premise of our creation. So since there is this state of the thought of creation and all that which will be extended from it, which is chokhmah, which is the life and the light and the pleasure and the seeing, all that is the first pulse that will be extended, which we call wisdom or chokhmah. It's the power of what the Creator wish to bestow. So it is all engulfed with the with the light of pleasure, with the ability to see, and with the condition of being alive, of being. And that will, at the end, or the end of it, of that breath, one can say. So it seems that creation is starting with exhaling. So at the end of this exhale of bestowing presence, there is a pause, and there need to be an inhale. And the inhale is called Binah. Is actually trying to inhale it back to the source of its arising. Not to have a series of exhalations that will find ourselves at the edge of creation without any connection and any sense of the purpose and the beginning. So at the beginning, at the first exhale or pulse of the will to bestow, what is being sort of there is a sense, a first feeling is rising in the non-changing infinite light of a will that is outside the Creator, but is yet a part of the Creator, which is to do with wishing to be same with the Creator, wishing not only to receive its presence, but as well to receive its nature and quality of being, to be like, in terms of to be able to bestow like the Creator. And all that does not change, yet the extension of the light and its quality of being simple. So now it's maybe our first meeting with the language of simple, or with the words simple in the term language of root and branch. Simple in Kabbalistic term, or in relation to its root, is actually a state in which the light can undress itself from from any dress or envelope, or hiding, one can say, apparatus. It says that it can express itself in a vessel, but simple, the vessel does not present any hindrance or any division or any concealment of the light. That is called simple, because the root of pashut, simple, is actually something that could say that it's in a state of undressing itself, naked. So one can say it is simple, it's the closest state to the nature of the Creator. But we need to understand that even the word light is already a dress. Light is not a description of the presence of the Creator itself. It's a description of the act of creation inside a vessel, the pleasure that it caused in him, the enlightenment or the ability to see the life that it caused in him, in the vessel, is called light. It's not a description of something that is out there. It's a description of an act that has been sort of impressed itself upon me. So the name of the impression and what it caused in me is called light, and that is very, very important to not to mix ourselves and not to confuse ourselves with reading Kabbalah as a whole, not to draw it into a corporal, which is very tempting and has been most of the unconditioned or unprepared people who dealt with Kabbalah actually fell there and lost the grip and the understanding of actually moving on the ladder of attainment, on the ladder of spiritual evolution with it. So actually it speaks about two movements, as we can understand. The movement of bestowal, which is from above or from the higher to the lower, the extending. But the extension is like I extend my hand, and therefore, in a way, I coerce the one that I extend my hand to respond and to hold it. So it could actually bring me back to the source. So the movement is the two-way movement. The movement of that which is perceived as light inside the vessel, and the movement of the vessel towards that which impresses itself upon him, which is called the light, in all its conjugation of illumination, emanation, and so on. So when Ariz is speaking about that state of potentiality, of cocoon holding itself in itself, it seems that there's no place and no space and no process yet. Yeah. So only when there is a will rising, yeah, then something can start to be perceived, or something is happening. So we spoke about the keter, or that is which is root, shorish, which is an inclusion of the will of the Creator, the will of infinity, blessed be He, towards the Creator. And the way it actually unfolds in itself as all the measurement that will express themselves later as worlds, sphirot, letter of Havaya, the letters of Havaya, and there all the processes within that will create the ability of the creator to be far enough from the imposing presence of the light, being able to choose, and then use all that preparation of words, of screens, of intentions, of concealment to actually move towards the root of itself.